Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you for tuning in. As you can tell from the title, today we're going to be talking all about money, finances, everything money related. I made a video recently talking about things I did not buy in my 20s that made me successful in my 30s. I'm in my early 30s, by the way, okay? So I don't sound like one old big auntie. However, a lot of you guys also wanted to hear about things I bought in my 20s, that primed me for that success, because it's not just about the things you didn't buy. If you just put the money there, it's just going to be cash, right? So without further ado, let us jump right into this video. Now, I know that money a lot of times is linked with unhappiness, depression. When people feel like they're stuck in their finances, they're just like, okay, so what's the essence of living? I've not been able to even afford a meal. I can't travel the way I want to, and things like that. So I know that money is a root source. Like, if money can cause divorce, it is one of the top things that cause divorce in marriages. That means that money has a lot of influence, in how people's emotions and anxiety levels or depression is affected. And that's why I feel like this topic is so important. However, I'm going to take a pause and quickly say that for you, what is causing your depression might not be money, right? But there is something interfering in your happiness and delaying you or stopping you from achieving your life's goals. Regardless of if your mental health issue is clinical, such as depression or anxiety, or you're just somebody who lives in this world and has a lot on their mind or the weight of their world on their shoulders, therapy can really help get you through seasons where you feel at your lowest and give you the right tools to approach life from a better perspective. And that's why I have to say thank you to the sponsors of today's video, BetterHelp. BetterHelp's mission is to make therapy more affordable and more accessible. And this is an important mission because finding a therapist can be really hard, especially when you're limited to the options in your area. All you have to do is answer a few questions about your needs in therapy, and BetterHelp will match you to the best fit from their network in as little as a few days. Also, finding the best fit of therapist, let's face it, is a bit like dating, right? And BetterHelp understands that. So if at any time you don't feel comfortable with your therapist, you can switch therapists at no additional cost to you. It is so easy to sign up, and I've put a link in my description box below. Clicking that link supports me, supports my channel, but also gets you 10% off your first month with BetterHelp. Now, let's roll it back. First thing I'm going to talk about, I feel like a lot of you guys might already know this, is land, property. Without going too much into details of how many I bought or whatever while I was in my 20s, I'm just going to say that buying land was something that was on the top of my mind. Like, if you guys have been here, you know that I don't play about property because I feel like it's something that is very tangible. You can see it, right? And if you don't fall into the hands of fraudsters, you do your due diligence and stuff, you can just buy land and enjoy it and leave it there. I've seen people grow so much wealth on the back of buying land and reselling and all of that. Flipping, they call it in this part of the world. It can be land, it could be like an already built house. So for me, I bought my first property at 20, and a whole lot of you know that I started working my full-time job once I clocked 20. Yes, I schooled in Nigeria. Yes, our education system is faster than the West and stuff like that. But once I clocked 20, I actually keyed into buying my property. And the thing that a lot of people probably don't know, especially if you're also in Nigeria, is that there's a lot of options for you to pay small, like pay in installments, right, for your landed property, which was what I did. Like, I'd started working. Yes, I was earning 6 figures in Naira, but I obviously didn't have like the whole money that I used to buy it, right? But thankfully, I was approached by staff from that organization who told me you can tie down, I think it was about 100,000 Naira per month. Back then, I'm talking 2012, right, or 2013, and that's what I was paying every month for the space of 12 months, I think, or 9 months. I don't have the right details, but yeah, it was almost a year. And at the end of the year, they kept giving me my receipt month on month every time I would pay. So imagine, I was practically using almost half of my salary after I've paid my tithe, almost half of my spendable income for that stretch of time to just tie down something that I knew would generate more income for me in the future if I choose to sell. Right now, I haven't actually flipped any of the properties I bought or that my husband bought while we're single. It's still there, still breathing, still breathing, and generating the income for us, And we also did that also. Now, after we got married, obviously I was still in my 20s, so we also did that as well as a couple. This time, the money was much more because now we bought in Lekki, Lagos. Where I bought as a single person was in Abuja, but it was closer to the outskirts, so it was like closer to Nasarawa. But I mean, if you know anything about Abuja, almost everywhere in Abuja is like, heavy in terms of, that's why I would have bought it for that amount back then. Again, we had the option to pay in installments. It was a lot of money, I can't even lie, but it was worth it because that installmental payment was there, right? So imagine that you have maybe a 400,000 naira land, and I'm just talking about like that's like maybe the least you can see in like outskirts or even in your little hometown, right? You'd be shocked, like, you guys, you'll be shocked. Let me not even go into details. You'll be shocked when I hear about the value of some of these lands, or someone who bought land at this time and is reselling for this amount. I'm just like, wow. It's even biblical. Let me tell you, like, the Bible says that a wise man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. Having said that, don't sleep on that. And also, if you also, do even like already built properties, that's even another level, because that gives us rent, right? And month on month, we're getting rent from that. It's just passive income. It's now passive because somebody is, going to work to pay you. So I think it's really wise, to invest. It's a little bit different in this part of the world, in North America, because obviously there's a mortgage system and stuff, but even that is very what's mortgage system if it is not pay small? They're literally giving you mortgage over a period of time for you to repay. So whether you're home or abroad, whatever that means to you, please consider it. You might feel like, oh, I didn't have the right amount or whatever. A closed mouth is a closed destiny. Look for like really legit realtors and people who sell lands and properties that you can approach them and say, okay, hey, what's your strategy? What's your approach? Are you able to allow me pay in installments and things like that? If you work with a government parastatal like I did, even there are like associations or like groups within, that establishment that enable you to pay in bits for things like that. So good luck. But land and property is a must. Don't sleep on it. Next thing I'm going to talk about is investing in a business. I feel like apart from land and property, there is a whole lot of like investment in business is even like it is right there in front of you, especially if it is a viable business. Let me put that in there. It's folly to me if you see that a business is not really, going to give you that turnover or in the long run or whatever, and you're sticking it out. Now, it is different if it is like maybe your passion. That's a whole different ball game, or your calling. We don't even do it. We don't start doing that for the cash, right? But obviously doing that, you would then have what brings you income, right? But as far as business is concerned, honestly, oh my goodness, let me just tell you my personal story. Around the time I got my job, my other sister was schooling in the UK. So we put funds together and she will buy the clothes and send it to me, and I will sell to like everybody in the organization. Was my customer. I would sell to them like up to double of the amount, and thankfully then the exchange rate was not as ridiculous as this. But even now, all that is happening is that prices are just increasing, but people are still buying, right? I had a fabric business, and because I could no longer run it from proxy, I put it up for sale. However, people who are still in that fabric business are still making a lot of money. People are still wearing Asoebi. Things are still like, people will just up their game. If you're lucky, you get more income for you to be able to afford these things. But it doesn't now mean that, it is never going to be viable anymore, So don't say, because of interest rate, that's my exchange rate, that's my excuse, or this or that. If you want excuses, they will literally be all around you, right? But for me, that was one of the things I did. I just used my trunk as my store, because then I didn't even have a store. And then along the line, I think about 2 years after that, I actually started selling soup. Let me tell you the best way to even have a business idea. Think of a problem you have, or a problem people around you have, and find a solution. That's where part of where this name came from. Like, ain't nobody calling me solution for nothing. Just find a solution to a problem and your business will be viable. Not just one person's problem, because that's very individualistic. So I sat in my office that day and I'm looking at like this nursing moms who are resuming after 3 months. I'm looking at these bachelors who go home late at 8 p.m, 9 p.m. And I'm just wondering, what are you people eating? Are you always going to stop over at a drive-through or at a side roadside Indomie spot to eat? And it dawned on me, okay, if I can provide you with soups, then I'm sure you will buy from me. And let me tell you what, the amount that I used to buy my gas cooker and everything, I gained it back, I think, in about a month or 2 months. So you'll be shocked. And prior to that, I didn't even know anybody. Now it's more of a common business. But back then, I didn't even know anybody that was selling just soups. Obviously, restaurants were open and things like that. But just like, the way it was personalized, and people would say, oh, I just want egusi. You can even tell me the kind of fish you want. You can tell me and stuff. And guys, I was working in a bank, so I had like a very, very, very busy schedule. However, I also employed a chef. So while I was at work, somebody was in my kitchen, on my stove, on my gas, with my pot, cooking. She'd go to the market, she'd buy all the things. Obviously, somebody trusted, because now this is something sensitive. I am the one who is doing the marketing. People associate me with the brand. I cannot come and give you poison to eat, right? So I got somebody trusted at that time to help me with the meals, right? And this was someone who had eaten our food, and I trusted that you can deliver, right? And then I was paying her, and including salary, I was still making my profits, right? So that's that. I even had an Instagram page. If you search Instagram, you see it. But obviously, as life also changed and needs changed, and I couldn't meet up with the needs of the business, I let it go. However, it has served its purpose for me in that season. I had it. If the purpose of that business was even to inspire somebody else to say, hey, you can also start it, because now I know a lot of people who went on from that idea to actually start doing the same thing. But obviously that was not my sole purpose then. It was to make money, of which I made the money, right? So please don't be limited by anything around you. But again, that was one thing that I invested in. I was not afraid. Even then, until I got married, and then I had the fabric business. Now, my fabric business I had done in my house for about a year and a half. And guys, this was just a business where people around me saw that, babe, you're cashing out, you're making money. I won't lie, I was a bit skeptical to put all of my money in renting a store in Lekki. But people were privy to that information of how much I was making. We're like, we want to invest in this. And getting my store in Lekki was an investment that I returned in over 6 months, because obviously, again, the business is viable, right? But for me, even the money I made, I was just putting it into stocking. Like sometimes I would just buy stock, 3 million naira, stock, 5 million naira. I was not afraid to order as the exchange rate was increasing, because it started increasing before I actually relocated. I was putting it because people will buy. I was using my mouth to market. I was like on my Instagram page grind and things like that. And bear in mind, I was already even a YouTuber at that point, right? So that's one thing I was not like, even till now, just tell me where the property is. Tell me that this business is viable as long as I have the capacity. Then I had a lot of capacity. I think I was not a mom. I was definitely not a mom when I started the fabric business, but capacity, right? I had to know that, okay, I can drop this one or that. But don't be afraid to invest in business, especially if you know that it is something viable. That's one thing I did, and I'm so thankful I did it. And it was not always easy. I remember talking about my fabric business. I remember I would go to like the deep part of the market, like the wide market. When I started and I didn't have like international suppliers yet, I would take 2 trips to the market. The first one was to take pictures, and the second one was now to go and buy when somebody pays and they confirm, and I will be praying that they've not even bought it, by the time I get back there. So it's not without sacrifices, but again, if you put your money there, they say put your money where your mouth is, put your mouth where your money is, whatever. But like, I know that my money is there, it has to be successful. Like, I don't just want to put money here and suffer a loss on what I can control, right? So don't let laziness stop you as well. Another huge thing that I spent money on in my 20s, that I still spend a lot of money on actually, is helping the poor and providing meat in the house of the Lord. So I'm Christian, and I was so big on giving to the house of the Lord, either through your offerings or your tithe, and sowing seeds to your prophet, sowing seeds to poor. I started my foundation around that time, to my early 20s. It was just, I see poor people, you help them. And the Bible actually says that whoever gives to the poor gives a loan to God, and God repays in full. Like, there are tight corners I found myself in life, and I'm just like, God, that was you, right? And one specifically, the Holy Spirit told me it was actually a repayment, So like, mercy is involved in it, favor is involved in it, and all of that. Yes, Jesus died and paid it all. However, we have a lot of principles to follow, right? When the Bible says your faith and your work, things don't just happen. Oh, yes, the miraculous is powerful. There is room for the miraculous. But as Christians, we don't operate in perpetual miracles. Yes, we believe in it. Yes, we've seen God heal the sick, raise the dead. But God also wants us disciplined. And that's why He sets principles for us to follow. So way back in my 20s, baby girl was just doing the alabaster box offering. And even till now, you just help the poor, literally, give funds to people who can help themselves. It just opens like a whole dimension. I remember saying that money can never have a hold on me, and I feel like that is a lot of discipline when you know when to let go, and say I'm not subject to money. It's the other way around, right? So as long as I am connected to the one who can reproduce, I would always have in abundance. So I was not afraid. I'm still not afraid to let go of money. You cannot catch me holding back on that. Okay, there's a need. God has given capacity. It has been inspired in my heart to do. Okay, see you later this morning. I'll see you because you come back, pressed down, shaking together, running over. I'm gonna have, So again, in my 20s, I did a lot of that. I cannot even go into details. I remember one day my mom was just looking at me like, girl, okay. But okay, but I'm so thankful because of that habit I cultivated. And that was around the time I started my personal work with the Lord, actually. But that habit has opened numerous doors for me. I cannot even begin to tell you. I cannot even begin to emphasize how much doors, just being at the right place at the right time, just opportunities. It's just miraculous things, actually. So yeah, that's another thing that I spent a ton of money on in my 20s. Another thing is financial literacy. I feel like no man is an island, right? So I used to watch a lot of videos like this. I used to ask people who had gone ahead of me, even till now, so what's the secret? You just find me like this. And sometimes I say here and there, say, no, this person said. It's not from thin air. I actually just like to glean from people who have built wealth, read up on their stories, read what made you successful, watch YouTube videos, and take on the strategies of those people and apply it. So financial literacy is so important. Don't sleep on it. Whether you're on Wikipedia reading somebody's autobiography, or you're interviewing somebody that you're close to, or you just approach someone who you're seeing is doing well in their field, and you have their audience and they're able to just pour into you, it is a loss. If you have to invest money in it, please invest. So when you hear that somebody is doing this masterclass, as long as you know that it is legit and you can see the results in their lives, please don't hold back. You're going to come back better for it. So that's another thing. I don't know if this is something really important, but I guess it is. But I'll say that in my 20s, I spent a lot of money on my basic needs, things especially food, good food, and good health. So I've always been into fruits. I will always have them, whether or not I like them. I know that they're good for my body. Vegetables, workout gears, good food, eating out, making myself feel good, things like that. Cooking in my own house, I can't even tell you how much, especially when I was in the UK, the amount of money that I've invested in food, in good food. But anyway, I feel like that's just by the way, but that just goes to say that while you're also out there hustling, find what helps you to feel like you're not depriving yourself. For me, it's never been clothes, because like I said in that other video, those are really perishable. They will tear out tomorrow, right? But again, I know that the food you eat goes and comes out somewhere else, but it's also adding to your overall health, let's face it, right? So that's another thing. But the last thing I'm also going to say is my work as an influencer, as a content creator. I've spent so much money. In front of me here, they're light here, camera here, stand here, so many things that I've spent good money on. But guess what? Ties back to a lot of things I said about business, because it is yielding results for me. Now, I don't even have a choice. It's kind of what I have to do now, because this is my job right now. God is using this platform to bless me. God is using this job to bless me. I had no clue when I started sitting in front of a camera, my phone, back then, put it in front of my window. I had no clue that I could morph into something this fruitful, all thanks to God, no cap. And it's just that it just emphasizes that point I said, if you put your heart to something and you know that this thing, whether or not actually, just knowing that I want to do this thing, I'm passionate about it. The Bible says whatever is worth doing at all is worth doing well. And a living dog is better than a dead lion, right? So that means that where you are today, matters. The fact that you still have this, breath in your nostrils. Go for what you want. Stand up to the occasion. Tell that thing, I can do this, I can do that. Right? Don't just like let this stop you. And that's why I recommended therapy. If you see that it's so clouded or it's clinically diagnosed, please seek therapy. But at the end of the day, you're here. There is a reason it still wants you here. And with that, I've come to the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you again, Better Health, for sponsoring today's video. I do want to make a video on this influencer journey. If you're looking out to start as an influencer, or everything I've learned along my way, or like the lucrativeness of this influencer business. So over the next couple of weeks, I want to do that. So be sure to subscribe, and not just subscribe, turn on your notification bell. It's just the button right beside the subscribe button, so that every time those videos drop, you can get notified and you don't miss them. So I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.
Whenever your heart is broken,